McCarver pops up. Here's Freehan. Detroit's the new world champion. And look at Freehan picking up Lolich. And there is a scene that has been repeated many times in World Series history.
Swing and a miss. The Cardinals are world champions for 2006.
Strike three call, outside corner.
There's a big home run right here, Molina. Reach the catcher. And
Second, got him.
This is history, what you're seeing. This will never be touched again. Even before the record, the water that they're in right now, no one will ever do this again. We have so many talented pitchers and so many talented catchers around the game of baseball, you'll never see this again.
So many things have to come together for two careers to parallel each other like they have from the start to the, near the finish line, and for them both to be that good, that dedicated, that, just that resilient. I mean, I can't imagine what the odds are, and I can't imagine that happening again.
I think with the emergence of free agency in the sense of like how many players actually move around, I think that's going to create it very difficult for two people to stick together for a long period of time to accomplish this. But the other part is just their own longevity. Clearly, Adam had some years where he missed time as a pitcher, but for a catcher to play as long as Yadi has, I don't think you're going to see that in the future.
If you even look to see who's number 2 on that list, it's not even close to half of what Waino and Yadi have caught. So I think that's one reason. It's just a record that will stand, I think, for history.
I really do believe in that you have to be blessed, right? You have to be blessed, you have to be thankful for everything that you have gone through, like you were mentioning earlier. Also, you have to have health. You have to have loyalty. Loyalty meaning the team loyal to you and Waino, right? Yadi and Waino. I think those are the most important things that you need to have to get to that far, to get that far.
You are getting to witness history. You're already seeing 2 Cardinal Hall of Famers day in and day out, and you know that, but you're seeing a feat right now that will never be seen again.
3-2 pitch. And he got him. They appeal and they ring him up in the first strikeout for Adam Wainwright here in this 2022 season.
I think back to when we drafted Yadier Molina, and here's a young man that I remember talking to the scout who recommended him, and we were talking about like his signing bonus, and I asked him like what he would recommend, and he said to me on the phone, he's like, whatever he asks for, just give it to him.
He went to a tryout in 2000 when he got drafted by the Cardinals. He went to a tryout before that in Cincinnati, and they had him doing the tryouts, normal tryouts, running, throwing, hitting, catching. Johnny Bench said something to Yadi's agent, said, hey, this is our guy. Johnny Bench, come on, catcher, he knows what he's seeing. And okay, he left there very on high note. He thought he was gonna be first, second pick, maybe third pick of the Reds. That's what he came out of there. And before you know it, 4 rounds went by, and I heard people say that he was going to be picked next by the Reds in the 4th, but the Cardinals just picked him up.
Yadi says he had a really good workout, threw the ball to second base really well, left Cincinnati thinking that he was going to be drafted by the Reds, and Johnny Bench and Bob Boone, 2 great catchers who had caught for Cincinnati, were there. Johnny Bench later told Yadi that he put in a good word for him and told the Reds that they should draft him, but we all know the Reds did not draft Yadi, and when that didn't happen, Yadi said they're going to pay for that. And sure enough, Yadi has hit over 300 at Great American Ballpark for his career, and has done a lot of damage to the Reds.
So you got to realize back then, like what you knew and your intel was so much different than what you know today. Yeah, I think we took him in the 4th round, I believe, and so like anything could possibly happen if you think from the very first pick to the 4th round. And so for him to be there, I think was very fortuitous. But then also the fact that we were able to sign him was even better. And you know, he stepped right in, and from day one, he was always like known as just a very good defensive catcher. And subsequently, I think we always promoted him faster, or really we allowed his offense to catch up. But subsequently, he ended up being one of the greatest catchers to ever play the game. And so, again, very lucky.
When Waino came up for his debut did not go that well. That first month, his first month in St. Louis, he pitched only twice. The first time he gave up a 3-run homer. The second outing went better, but the end of the season came, and Waino knew that he would not make the postseason roster. You know, that year the Cardinals had a powerhouse and were favored to go to the World Series. But Waino, while he didn't think he would be on the roster, he did think that he would be around the team for the playoffs, which often happens. Club likes to have guys just in case they're needed, and also the young guys can soak up some playoff experience by being around. But this was also a very veteran team in '05, so no one really told Waino his season was over or it wasn't over. So with the playoffs opening against San Diego here at Busch, Waino just stuck around and did his thing, worked out. You know, when the game started, he was with the other extra guys, you know, watching from the bullpen or wherever. And then game 2 comes. It's you travel after game 2, so that's the big day. Waino brings his suitcase in, he's dressed up, he's like he's going on the trip. He strolls into the clubhouse, and Jason Marquis, veteran pitcher who had also come over in the trade with the Braves, asked Waino, says, "Are you sure you're making this trip?" And Waino goes, "Well, no one's told me anything else, so yeah." And Marquis goes, "Well, you might want to check with Tony." And Marquis at the time knew that Waino wasn't going because he had already checked, but he didn't really want to break the bad news to him. So Waino goes in, see Tony. "Skipper, am I going on the trip?" And he said, Tony was quite blunt, said, "No, and when you get home, you've got a lot of stuff you need to work on." And this kind of took Waino aback a little bit, put him in a not so great mood. So he goes home, the team plays, team goes out to San Diego, continues the run through the playoffs. Waino was actually at home on the night that Albert Pujols hits the monster home run off Brad Lidge. And while Cardinal Nation was ecstatic over this, Waino was happy, but he was also a little bit not so happy, you know. I mean, he's like, I should be there. I should be with this team for this moment. But he wasn't, and he's kind of dejected. So after the game ends, he says that he went outside in the subdivision. There's a little John boat in the lake, and he's out there rowing around just trying to figure out what's going on with his career. You know, why can't the Cardinals, why can't everyone see that he's going to be a star pitcher? He had had a couple of other setbacks, minor setbacks also that season. But at some point as he's rowing around, he comes to realize, these guys are pretty smart guys. Maybe it's not their issue. Maybe the problem is me. And he said, right in the boat, he just started bawling, crying, thinking that, it was him. He realized that these guys are right, it is him. And he said he looked up to the heavens and said, "God, I'm going to make every pitch like it's the last one I ever make from here on out." And basically that's what he has done since then. I mean, he calls this one of the turning points of his career. He trains differently that off season. He gets to spring training in '06, and before he even steps on the mound for his first bullpen, Dave Duncan, the pitching coach at the time, looks at him and says, "You look different this year, don't you?" And Waino says, "Absolutely." He was just more confident, ready for the challenge.
And that is something that the greatest athletes do, is they find some sort of a slight and then they go from there. And for Adam, I believe that that was a slight to him. He believed that he should have been a part of that, wanted to be around the team and wanted to be, in that atmosphere, and it wasn't there for him. And it was kind of a driving force for him.
Motivation is a scary drug, and when you put a chip on a potential superstar's shoulder, it turned him into a different human being, a different competitor. He went from he's going to become a big leaguer to, man, this guy's a dude.
They entered the day 315. Now they're 316 starts, tied with Warren Spahn and Del Crandall of the Boston and Milwaukee Braves. And a strike call on Nick Senzel. He's out, and that's the way our game begins. So Adam Wainwright agreed with the extra day off.
You know when they tell you something, they know what they're feeling. They both have gone through so much pain in their career that they're not just looking for a day off. I remember we were playing a game in Chicago and he essentially tore his oblique, and you could see it on his swing, and we were late in the season and he just would not stop. He's the kind of guy you talk to and he says, I'm fine, just leave me alone, I'm fine. And doing something in that position and being able to continue to play, even though you have a legitimate injury. It's not just like an ache or a pain, like a legitimate injury. And he didn't want to, and I think that comes from not only is it just toughness overall, but he doesn't want to let his teammates down. If you're in a big game and Waino's pitching, and he wants to make sure he's the one that's back there supporting and helping to get through a tough game. Like, he wants to be that guy to be able to do that. So, you think about, that tenacity, that perseverance to continue to go. That's just a special thing. And I think if you look through, and again, this is a commonality between Waino and Yadi, is if you look at other sports, other guys that have had that, had that long-standing career, that the staying power, I think a commonality is, they're not chasing money, they're not chasing stats. It's really about, I think, competition in the end. When they feel something and they're going through an injury, they'll tell you, "This is what I'm feeling, and it doesn't feel like it did in 2018, or it doesn't feel like, it kind of feels like that thing that I had in 2015." And it gives you almost an instant roadmap to, okay, so we did this before and it really worked well for you. If we do this in this way, I can anticipate that in 7 days you're going to look like this. So it's almost like it's nice because there's so many maps that are already out there for them personally, that it's almost a luxury to have.
When I catch, and Yadi probably thinks the same way, you're going to get hit 6 times a day. 6 times that the fans have no idea you got hit, in the toes, in your knee, a foul tip here, blocking a ball, which people think it's just, no, you have gear. That thing hurts every time it hits your chest. It doesn't matter if it's chest protector or a chin guard. So I think the fingers, the area on the thumb when he slide and kind of strain that ligament was tough for him. When you get hit in the cup, it's another level, and he had to go through that. And the way he went through it, I don't think anybody could have gone through it the way he did. It's so positive and so strong, and it's such a strength. I don't know if I can see anybody else dealing the way he dealt with that. He actually walked out, and we all know what he had. So he walked off the field.
All the punishment, all the sleepless nights, the pain, not only during the game, but after and before, it's crazy what they go through. And yes, they have protection, but that protection, as described before by Rick Monday, the tools of ignorance, they don't always protect you 100%.
When you've worked with Yadi for long enough, there's like this rhythm of, okay, watch for a second, because Yadi's the kind of guy that's like, don't just come out here. He doesn't need time, he doesn't need, help or anything, and that's just his nature and that's his toughness. I don't know that I've ever seen he was fighting so hard to get over the pain, because that's one of the things that Yadi, pain's not going to stop him. His body might fail him and he just can't do something, but pain's not the thing that's going to stop him.
In 2018, there was a start in the middle of May at San Diego when Waino, you could just see he was in pain with every pitch. I remember one of the San Diego writers in the press box getting up and just like, oh, this is sad. By then, Waino had a great career. Everybody knew Waino. After that game, Waino, he didn't say he was done, but there was a lot of thought that might have been his last start.
I will tell you, in that San Diego start, we kind of all sat around afterwards, and it was just like heartbreak for all of us that invest in a guy like that. And we really thought, we just saw his last start.
He was throwing like 78 miles an hour, and I'm watching this, and as much as we want to win on the other side, it's like killing me to see this go down. I called my wife right after the game, and I thought he was done. I was like, this is the last start we'll ever see Adam pitch.
I wouldn't say that anyone had any high hopes. There's certain things that were going on with his elbow at that time that, like I said, other people don't come back from. He was playing catch with another one of our pitchers and started just, trying to find, essentially, I always talk about it like the tread on a tire, trying to find a new tread somewhere in that arm slot. Somehow it kind of started to come together.
And then there was a start against the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball where he went 6 scoreless innings, and Waino says if he had not had that game, he might not have pitched in 2019. That game was that important to him.
Again, that's why all our respect, to him, that most guys, if they can't be who they have been previously, just that's it, that's the end. And he just wasn't ready, and he was willing to try anything to change himself to still be able to compete.
Wainwright picks out the sign. Ortega at first base may take off. He's leaning, he's running. The pitch is swung on and missed. Throw to second base, strike him out, throw him out, double play. Tommy Edman puts the tag down.
If you're talking to a pitcher who has never had the pleasure of having Yadier Molina catch him, how are you going to describe that experience?
Enjoy. You don't have to think about it. That's what I would tell him. It's like, don't think, just pitch. Because all of the groundwork, and especially for a younger pitcher, he's done everything. He has done all the work already behind the scenes. He knows all these hitters, he knows their tendencies, he knows your stuff, and he knows what's best. Now, that's not to say that in a given spot you shouldn't call whatever you want. As a pitcher, you're always in control. If it feels good for you, you throw it. But know that Yadi never puts down a finger for no reason. Like, if he's going to put down a sign, there's a reason that he's doing it. So while it might not make sense to you in the moment, realize that there's a reason behind it. And the thing with Adam Wainwright, he has a God-given ability, okay? The guy is a tremendous athlete, and he's gifted, he's tall, he's strong, but he works, and that's what makes it different. And he's evolved, and that's something that a lot of pitchers just don't do. A lot of pitchers don't evolve. They don't change. They run into some maybe troubles and keep reverting back to things that they've done in the past. Adam has changed so many things. He's changed his arsenal. He's changed the way that he prepares. He's changed the way that he eats. Like, everything about his life has shifted to get him to this point. And I think that you see too many athletes, too many pitchers specifically, that are so hard-headed and stick with what they do to get you here. Like, this is how I made it to the big leagues. This is how I'm going to stay. Well, Adam hasn't done that. And Adam, even at this point in his career, he's a wealth of knowledge for all the young pitchers. He's still learning. He is still trying to pick up stuff from some of his younger teammates to see if he can get better and better.
I've been lucky to be in the middle of a living room with the 3 Molinas. 6 World Series rings, 11 Gold Gloves, hundreds of home runs. And to hear Jose Molina, Benji Molina, Yadier Molina talk about baseball, it's amazing. It's like a symphony. Everybody has their own ideas, but at the end, if you put together those ideas, you can create a monster.
I really do believe we help, like me and Jose and Cheo, we help. You know, I really do believe it. But I do believe more, 100%. He got it from 5 years old when he started playing with this group of guys. And they went through 6, 7, 8 until 16. They all graduated same school, same everything, same teams. So the IQ for me came from that, playing together with those kids, and they were smart as heck. I was a coach for 5-year-old team for Yadi, and the way they interact with each other, we didn't even have to coach. And think about it, it's 5. Usually you see a 5-year-old jumping around and yelling. These kids, they knew what to do. You know, we won 2 years in a row, the championship in Puerto Rico with those teams. We were hitting cutoff man, which it's unheard of at 5 years old. And we were making double plays, and the guys were talking, hey, if you hit it here, you toss it to me. Like, for a second, if he goes, he's slow, take your time. And you're like, just have fun out there, let's win. You know, like that, at 5 years old.
They've been great leaders too, not just on the field, but off the field as well, for a lot of the young players that come here. And I think that's one of the things that makes this organization special. They've always had people who've been good leaders, and when your leaders are your hardest workers, good things happen.
When Yadi was catching, he was the only catcher I've ever faced. He felt like you were facing him and the pitcher. The way he was calling pitches, he's the best that I've ever faced. You know, being on a different team for so long, it was almost like a completely different at bat when he was catching. So I was like, man, I can't believe he called that pitch. I mean, I remember one game Waino was pitching, and I think he just threw a fastball right down the middle and struck me out, and I looked at him, he smiled, and I finally talked to him after. I'm like, dude, that was the worst pitch ever to throw there. I can't believe you threw it. And he's like, yeah, I know, we thought you might have been looking for something else, so we threw you the one pitch we shouldn't throw. And I'm like, nobody does that. But those guys together, they're so in control of what they want to do and make adjustments. And you know, for Waino, just always just finds a way to go deep in games, and I think that's so impressive. It's like, you know, it's such a hard thing for guys to pitch a lot of innings now, and he just does such a great job of that.
And the 3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, and he struck him out. First strikeout for Adam Wainwright.
When you think back to the post-pandemic season of 2020, both guys enter free agency, and clearly it was something that I think, like, if we could redo it again, we probably, all three of us would probably have like done something sooner. But you know, I think like individuals need to explore their own free agency, what that means, what it looks like. But it was definitely uncomfortable for the Cardinals because we didn't want to see them put on a different uniform.
In this day and age, you change teams so much, so it's hard to have a combination that's together this long. And I think that's what makes it special too, the fact that they've been able to be together for as long as they have. Being teammates that long is a rarity.
You have these two kind of franchise icons at this point who pretty much came up together. You know, Yadi beat Waino up here a little bit. They came up together and they've had so much success together, and to hear them talk about the working together out on the mound, it's really cool, and I think it's a very special record.
There's so many things that they have done together that get them to that relationship they have now. I bet you anything, the biggest hug happened when Yadi showed up in the clubhouse, because Waino was one of the open ones that said, hey, we miss him and we want him here. Even if he's hurt, we want him here around the clubhouse, and we want to experience the whole thing with him.
I think because, it's such a business, I think guys know that you have to be a pretty special player just to have the opportunity to stay with the same club. And then you also have to have the desire to want to stay with the same club like Waino has had.
I think it's so emotional, every single, not only the 2000, because that's unbelievable. I think it's unreal and so special, not only for me, but obviously for them too, So, but I think it's just not only that game. People don't remember only that game. They will not remember them as one game. They will remember them when they curveball to the Mets and when they won against the Tigers and things like that. They will remember all those things. But I really do believe, I think it's so special the way they were doing it. Polo and I were doing the game yesterday, and you can still see Waino twitching and moving the hand and right before the hitters looking at him, right? The hitters just fixing their dirt, and they communicate like that, and they touch their shirt and they know exactly what they want next pitch. So sometimes you don't see him putting the sign down, and you're like, wait, what is he gonna throw around? So it's because they already know each other. They move their lips, and it's a curveball, at a certain point, and they touch their hat with the right hand, and that's a fastball inside, or they go to the shirt. There's so many things with those years of experience with them that they already know each other. They already know. They have fun out there. They're not afraid, which a lot of the young guys, if you notice, they get afraid, intimidated, and they get afraid. They're timid. These guys are already past that, so they know exactly if they give it up, they need to hold the team so we can come back and win the game.
Waino at his finest, 88 pitch, complete game for Maddox. That was at Pittsburgh. He's had a little success against the Pirates, even that month. That month last August when he pitched that, he was National League Pitcher of the Month, and 3 of his wins came against the Pirates. None of them like that game when I think he threw the most he threw in any one inning. Most pitches he threw in any inning was 13, which is, we see guys sometimes do that in every inning. So that was a big game for Adam.
I think whenever you think about sort of like storybook endings and the fact that you have 2 guys that have meant so much to each other, they've made each other better, and then to stay with one set of uniforms on, meaning the birds on the bat for the St. Louis Cardinals, I think is just something that's remarkable. And I think when we all look back and reflect on really what their importance was to the city of St. Louis, the St. Louis Cardinals, we're all going to realize how lucky we were to be a part of it.
The pitch, check, swing, strike 3 call. Curveball on the outside corner. Rosario gets the ring up from Mike Estabrook.
Yeah, he carried himself different in 2005. So I met him in the minor leagues in 2005. The icebreaker, him and Jenny, his wife, came over for dinner, and they came over, and he came over in a full suit, bow tie, the whole deal, slacks, jacket. She came over in a prom dress, and my wife and I are in shorts and a t-shirt. We're like, where are we going? What did you set up? She's looking at me like I set up this fancy dinner. And so he broke the ice that way. And then he gave me my first Bible a week later. So I knew there was something different about him. I was like, what does this guy have? I need what he has. And that's how our friendship and our journey and our family friendship, first started. But I have one Bible, and that's been from Adam. He autographed it, and I haven't bought one since.
I remember the first time he invited me to come and have dinner at his house. It was my daughter and myself, the first time my daughter came to visit in St. Louis. And it was after a game, and Yadi said, hey, Polo, we're gonna have dinner tonight at the house. Arroz, gandules, puerco, rice, beans, pork, the good old Puerto Rican dinner. I want you to come over. And at that time, I was pretty new here, and I always thought, somebody told me once, you never cross that line of friendship with the players because you're not their friend, you are working here. And when you cross into being a friend, then your job is not down the middle anymore. So I always thought about that. And I said, yeah, okay, we'll go, maybe we'll go. I didn't, because I didn't want to cross that line. Well, the next day, it went from a Saturday night game that I didn't show up to have dinner at the Molina's house to a Sunday afternoon game. Walk into the clubhouse, first person that I see is Yadi. Polo. Hey, ¿qué pasó, Yadi? What's up? How you doing? What happened? What? Your plate is still at my table. My blood went down. I didn't faint because I was wearing boots. And I said, I tried to make an excuse. He's like, nah, if you tell me you're coming to my house for dinner, you better show up. Let that be the last time you don't show up when I invite you and you say you're coming to my house. So now, I could be doing anything. And if Yadier Molina calls me, hey Polo, we're having dinner at the house, come over, let's go have dinner at the Molina's. And that shows you how much he doesn't only care about the broadcast or the guy that he met here at the stadium, but now he wants to perhaps be part of your life.
Wainwright, Molina, already the most successful battery in baseball history, 212 team victories in their starts together. The 2-2, swing and a miss and a strikeout. The 47th anniversary of the final start between Mickey Lolich and Bill Freehan. Those two have tied the record.
I call it el ritual del capitán, the captain's ritual. Right before the game starts, he goes in, he will look back, he will kiss Pai, kiss Mai, his tattoos for mom and dad, looks up in the sky, and then the last thing he does that gives me goosebumps, he looks up, he lifts his glove to the booth. And every time he does that, it reminds me of the first time we called a game here, Benji Molina and myself, and he hits a home run. So we're going crazy, home run, Benji's screaming, and I'm like trying to not cry because I think of my brother, that's his brother, and then Yadi crosses the plate, he just goes like this. So I looked at Benji, I'm like, Benji, what a moment, your brother, we're doing this. And then when he crosses home plate, he points at you. How does that feel? And then Benji looked at me. He's like, he didn't point at me, he pointed at us. And at that moment, I'm like, this is gonna be fun.
Adam's great. I'm sure there's been a lot of stories shared about him, but he's a pretty special person, I think, because it's been amazing for me to watch him as a person and as a man, that he really has stayed the same from the moment he was called up in 2006, and I guess he was called up a little bit in 2005, but from the first time he joined us as a Cardinal, the 2006 teams, all the way through 2022. He's been an incredible competitor on the field. He's been an amazing teammate, I know, because you can see him interact. He's funny, he's engaging, he's a man of faith, and I think that that's been most impressive, is just to watch how he has just been a steady person that hasn't changed throughout an amazing career.
He's been so impactful in my life that I can't put one. I can tell you that I'm a Christian because of him. That's probably the most impactful thing someone can say about somebody, and I'm not in my faith or where my family is without him, but he's been instrumental in my career, not only to when I was playing second base and moved that transition mentally and trying to get through some really difficult times myself, and spending countless hours in his hotel room after games when I wasn't going well and he was going great, and talking me off a cliff and that type of stuff. But I'm not who I am today without Adam. As a man, as a husband and father, and I think that is more impactful to me than anything on the baseball field.
Having Yadi supporting anybody here, us, the Cardinals, is the best. When I talked about him, I say a lot of times, if I think I'm smart, Yadi is 3 steps ahead of me, or 4 steps at times. We talk about the game of baseball, and he's always way ahead of what I want to say, and sometimes I feel bad and I shut up and I just listen to him because he's way ahead. So that being said, being in the clubhouse helping the kids, I can't even imagine like what these kids can go to him and say, hey man, what were you thinking here?
He will always ask me, how's your wife? How's your kids? How's your dogs? How's your mom? How's your sisters? How's your brother? And he met all of them once, twice, 3, 4 times. And the fact that he just takes those 30 seconds to ask me about my mom, that listens to every single game we do, that shows me, and I need to show and tell people, yes, you see a superstar, a Hall of Fame player, but the guy that you don't see behind that mask is even better than a ball player, because he will take the shirt off his back to give it to you, and I've seen that before. And I can only learn from that, because if a person, a player of that caliber can do something like that for anybody, I can do it too. And I look up to that kind of person more than I look up to a Hall of Fame pitcher, catcher, baseball player, because at the end, it's not so much how many home runs you hit, but it's how many smiles you can deliver.
Gazing into Yadi, gets the sign in the first pitch. A strike, and with that pitch, Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright have set the all-time record. They have made the most starts as battery mates in the history of Major League Baseball, number 325, a number that will never be reached again.
325 son ahora los juegos iniciados por Adam Wainwright y Yadier Molina.
Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina have the record of 325 starts as a regular season Major League battery, passing Mickey Lolich and Bill Freehan from 1963 through 1975.
Let's take a minute and actually take this in. This is a special record, in my opinion, one that definitely won't ever be touched again.
We're looking back at the legacy of 2 individuals that meant so much to all of us, not just as fans, but really what they meant to our community, and think how lucky we are for that.
Because you both have been exceptional. It's been an honor and a privilege to be with you two. So, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Just says a lot about Waino, it says a lot about Yadi, and I think it also says a lot about the Cardinals organization and how it values continuity.
For me to just be part of it, I just consider it a blessing. It's so cool to be part of history, to watch them. They're 2 of the greatest leaders I've ever been around. They do it in different ways, but they're both so incredible, great teammates, amazing players, and just all these memories will be something that I'll look back on and just think how cool is that to be part of.
I've had a real job for 10 years outside of baseball. Adam and I came in around the same time, and he's still doing it. It's amazing what it is.
You look out there, 325, you got a 41-year-old pitcher and a 40-year-old catcher. That's surreal. It'll never happen again. You know, we always say records are made to be broken, but this right here is one that's probably not going to be broken. And if you look at the next closest, it's like 104.
It's been an honor for me to be next to Waino for many years, for many stars. Thank you, Waino, for allowing me to play catch with you. And for many years to come, you're my friend, you're my brother. Thank you for all these years, man.
I've never wanted to go anywhere because I understand I have the greatest catcher defensively that's ever lived, I think. But differently, separately, a relationship where I don't think I'll ever trust anybody as much as I trust him on the field. When I get older, one of the things I'll be the most proud to tell somebody is that Yadi and Waino is my catcher every fifth day. I mean, that's just a special thing to be able to say that, you know. And what I want people to be able to say, I mean, it would be great, like, to be known as the battery, you know, like, not like one of the greatest batteries, but the battery. Like you hear it on commercials, like just like Wainwright and Molina, Molina and Wainwright, whatever. That if they wanted to do that forever, I'd be all right with it. You know, that would be really cool for me.